Welcome back to Dominant Mets Nation. And folks, Pete Alonso just got knocked out of the home run derby. His competition, basically his competition, he has been the most enthusiastic derby participant in the last half decade, let's say. Let's say since Pete Alonso came into the league in 2019 and won his first home run derby that year. Then Pete Alonso went on to win the home run derby in 2021. He dominated in that year. In round one, he had 35 home runs. And in 2021, he went on to beat Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in 2021, for all of you who don't remember, that's the year when Vladimir Guerrero put on a show. I think he had like a 90 something home runs. I'm which player? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in 2019 hit he hit 91 home runs. So Pete Alonso beat him that year. So that was the rivalry. Pete Alonso, Vladimir Guerrero, and Pete Alonso kept coming out on top. 2019, 2021, two-time home run derby champ. This was going to be an amazing thing if he would have tied Ken Griffey Jr.'s record and won his third home run derby. Last year, I got to say, I watched it, and it was the first time I watched it. I'm like, you know what? In my opinion, Pete, kind of physically was kind of slowing down. He didn't have that monster, it didn't feel like he go on that monster run like he did in 2019 and 2021. Is it because he's a little older? Could it be because the pitcher wasn't throwing the ball in the sweet spot? Could be a few things. But I'll tell you what I observed today. So going into this home run derby, I figured that Pete Alonso had a great chance at getting that three-time home run derby victory. Pete Alonso was going up against the likes of Alec Bold, Adolis Garcia, Gunnar Henderson, Teoscar Hernandez, Marcelo Zuna, Jose Ramirez, Bobby Witt Jr. So he wasn't going up against the sluggers of the sluggers. You don't have Aaron Judge here. You don't have guys of the past, Vladimir Guerrero. You don't have Julio Rodriguez, who was an absolute beast last year. You don't have the biggest, really kind of sluggers in the game right now. You got a lot of good hitters, but Pete Alonso was the favorite. You saw in the beginning, he was the favorite. So he comes out, you hear the music, automatically I hear, oh my God, music in the background. You hear Jose Iglesias' song, and I'm like, okay, good. This is going to get Pete going. I like it. I like the vibe. And then, Pete Alonso gets into the box, and the first pitch, he tanks to center field. First pitch, bomb. I'm like, here we go, Pete. Another couple pitches goes by. I think he goes oppo, and then the broadcasters are like, Pete is so strong, he doesn't even have to hit it, pull the ball. So I'm like, okay, we're looking good. But then I'm noticing, 3, 4, 5 pitches in a row. His pitchers throwing it high, throwing it up and in, not throwing it in the sweet zone. And that, I think, got Pete off. It put Pete in a position where he knew he had to put home runs together. And it just threw him off. And this is what I say about projecting guys. There is a difference between the energy level. It takes a lot of energy to hit home runs, especially in bunches. Yeah, a guy can hit 5 home runs in a row, 10 home runs in a row. But when Pete knows he's got to hit 10, 15 home runs just to possibly make it to the next level, that you're going to have to exert a lot of energy. So unfortunately, Pete bowed out, 12 home runs, and that's a putrid performance. That is not really kind of what he expected. The last couple of pictures, it felt like he kind of gave up. He knew he was out of it. But from watching the last 2 contests, last year and this year, it just seems like physically Pete Alonso isn't in the same physical form that he was in 2019 and 2021. It felt like in those 2 specific home run derbies, He was invincible, and he was the best home run hitter in the league. Now it feels like a plethora, a whole slew of just mediocre home run hitters can beat him. And the stats were pulled up in the beginning of the broadcast, and it said average exit velocity, and it said that Pete Alonso's average exit velocity, and I study these stats, and this is something that I've noticed myself. The average exit velocity for Pete is like 88.9, which was a lot lower than everybody else's average exit velocity. Exit velocity. I mean, you could go look at Brandon Nimmo right now, and off the top of my head, I know Brandon Nimmo has a higher average exit velocity than Pete Alonso, right? Than Pete Alonso. So what is that telling you? Is that telling you that Pete is putting extra pressure on himself? Because another interesting stat is that even though his average exit velocity isn't as high as the other participants or as high as it normally is, his what is it called? What was that stat that they had? Let me get you the right stat. Okay, so his bat speed, and in this on Baseball Savant, you can kind of see that this is his best advanced metric. His bat speed is 75.1, which they said in the broadcast, the average bat speed for most Major League Baseball players is 72. His is 75.1. So according to Baseball Savant, his average bat speed is elite. So what does that tell you? He's not hitting the ball hard, but his bat speed is elite, and we know he still has power. So that tells me that Pete Alonso is not connecting on the sweet spot. Why is he not connecting on the sweet spot? Is he anxious? Is he thinking about his contract? But that's what it is. His contact is not there. His contact is not there. His hard hit percentage is way down. His stats on Baseball Savant are not good. If you will compare Brandon Nimmo's stats, or you even go to Francisco Lindor's stats, they are a lot more. They are better. They are just plain better. Okay, so it was really no surprise that Pete Alonso did not do well because, in my opinion, these are the type of performances that he has had this year. Now, Pete has a lot of potential. We all know that. We all know that. But at the end of the day, it's about producing on a consistent basis. Based on his stats this year, he's having his worst statistical year of his career by far. Based on his advanced stats, show tremendously that he is having his worst statistic year. Now, without worrying me, the only reason why it worries me is because of father time. Players usually don't get better as they age. This is right now, this is the sweet spot of his career. He is in a prime of his career, right? So he shouldn't be going down in these advanced stats. He should be improving. Now, the only thing that I can hang my hat on is he's putting extra pressure on himself. But why would he be putting extra pressure on himself when he has the best lineup, the best hitters that he's ever had as a major league hitter around him? He's got Mark Vientos, Francisco Lindor, Francisco Alvarez, JD Martinez, Brandon Nimmo. Everybody's performing up and down the lineup. Harrison Bader at the end of the lineup, Jose Iglesias, guys who have come in, they've performed. The offense is dynamic. So the pressure shouldn't be on Pete. So where is this pressure coming from? It's got to be pressure that he is putting on himself. Now, what can take the pressure off Mr. Pete Alonso? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. And this would help out our team tremendously. Supposedly, rumor has it that, and I know everybody's heard this already, that he was offered a 6-year, $150 million contract. That's an average of $25 million a year. So I think that would be about $2 million less than what Freddie Freeman signed a few years ago. That would take Pete until he's about 36 years old. And I'll tell you, for $25 million a year, the value is okay. The value is okay. I would sign Pete to a $25 million contract because he's a homegrown net. He's a homegrown net. I know he'll probably transition to being a DH in about 3 years. His defensive game isn't elite. He doesn't get on base at an elite level. His OPS is under 800. His slugging is in the mid 400. So I'm not going to get into his numbers because we already know he's not having that great dynamic year. I mean, Pete Alonso, years ago, we thought he could have been like a 280 hitter, 350, 360 on base. We were comparing him to Aaron Judge. Now you wouldn't even mention the two in the same sentence. Like rationally, you wouldn't mention the two. They are two players and two stratospheres. The only thing that they have in common is that they play in New York. But that's what I say. I say that the contract right now that's the only external factor that is putting pressure on Pete, and I think that is skewing his numbers. I'm hoping it's the fact that he's not getting older. I just hope that's not the fact. But here's the thing. I'm a little harder on Pete because Pete laid down the gauntlet. He said, I want to be paid like an elite superstar. I hired Scott Boras. $150 million over 6 years wasn't good enough for me. I need at least $200 million, probably $250 million. So he wants to be paid like an elite superstar. So that's why my expectations are raised. And the other reason why I'm hard on Pete is because I think that David Stearns, there's a highly likelihood that if he continues to play like this, that David Stearns will not see the value there. He will not see the value there. So that's why I'm trying to get Pete to play at that next level because I know I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with this production because I know there's more there. There's more there. I'm not going to clap hands and say, oh, he's got 18 home runs. He's batting 240. His OPS is under 800. He's playing mediocre defense. His slugging is in the mid fours. These aren't Pete Alonso numbers. So why would I be happy? Why would I be satisfied? It just makes no sense. Plus, the guy's asking for $30+ million. Come on. Let's be real. The offense is playing well, but it's more or less in spite of Pete, right? If we didn't have these other guys playing well, if we didn't have Martinez, if we didn't have Vientos, if we didn't have Alvarez, if Nimmo didn't take it up to the next level, if Lindor didn't get moved to the lead-up spot, there's so many different factors around Pete that have given Pete cover, So, that's my little, and I don't wanted Pete to win. I wanted Pete to prove expectations. I wanted Pete to win 3 times. But, now the home run derby is going on right now. It's probably ending the first round. And Pete Alonso not even getting to the second round. 4 guys should have made it. 4 guys. We're talking about Alec Bohm. Gunnar Henderson's a nice player, but he's not that Pete Alonso home run hitter. So I mean, I'm a little disappointed in Pete. I frankly am, and I'm just gonna say when I'm disappointed, I'm disappointed. I know there are a lot of fans of Pete who love him no matter what. But I'll tell you this. I mean, realistically, Pete Alonso. I guess if he was on the open market, his biggest value is in the Pete Alonso, his potential and in his name. Like, 3 or 4 months left of a guy who hit 18 home runs and, is batting the way he is, there's really not much value there. I mean, if we got anything of value back, it would just be because we're giving the name of Pete Alonso and the potential that he could be that consistent difference maker and that slugger, that run producer. I expect Pete to bash close to 50 home runs, 130 RBIs, back close to 900 OPS, a 550 slug. These are the numbers that Pete Alonso should be putting up. Okay, that's my disappointing rant on Pete Alonso. I know a lot of people love Pete, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people aren't gonna like this. So it is what it is. Like and subscribe if there's something maybe you liked in there. All right, well, have a great day. Let's go Mets. The Mets are doing well, so that is good.